John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum is directed by Chad Stahelski, and it stars Keanu Reeves, and he plays a unstoppable mercenary named John Wick. And this will be the third movie, obviously, in the trilogy of John Wick movies. John Wick Chapter 3 picks up right after the events of John Wick Chapter 2, where John Wick has been excommunicated from a group of mercenaries, which he used to be a part of, and he has a bounty placed on his head for $14 million. And so he's just on the run from all these bad guys who are trying to kill him, and that's where we find ourselves at the beginning of the movie. Something that's really unique about the John Wick movies that I like so much is just its overall style. I love the aesthetics of it. It's just looks like every scene is taking place in like at night, and there's also just the neon lights from the city, and it just looks really pretty. It's almost like a noir feel, but also has those neon lights in it. It's kind of like Blade Runner-esque, but it also has the action-packed, fight scenes through it. It's not slow-paced like some noirs are, and I think that it fits really well into the whole style of these movies. The other great, unique part of these movies is just how these fight scenes are shot and choreographed. There is so much attention to detail put into these things. It's really actually hard to direct action scenes. Something that movies do a lot nowadays is that they do this shaky cam thing where you can't see what's going on, and it's like, oh, it makes you feel like you're in the fight and you're just like overwhelmed, but it's like, honestly, no, that doesn't work. Sometimes like they can do it and it's actually been done okay, but few and far between have done it very well. Overall, it just doesn't really capture what's happening in the fighting, but in John Wick, they have these big, long, wide shots so where they're not a bunch of cuts where you're going from like a punch being thrown to like someone flying back to like, it's seamless. You can see that they've planned out the entire fight. Also, when you have these long shots, is that you get to see how much these actors and all these stunt people, you can see how much they put into making their characters look very skilled in whatever they're doing. Keanu Reeves spends a ton of time with, judo and jiu-jitsu experts for his fighting and for like his throwing of people. And he also spends a lot of time with like tactical experts, ex-military people who just know how to clear rooms, how to like enter rooms, how to use their guns and weapons like most efficiently. And I think that that's like really awesome how much care that he puts into it as an actor, because he really cares about these projects and he always wants to make John Wick seem like what he is. Like, he wants him to seem like the best that there is, so he puts forth the effort into that. And you can really see it in these movies. You don't have to be an expert in, the tactical or the fighting stuff. I'm not. But you can just see how much effort that they put forward that a lot of people don't in their movies nowadays. Now, John Wick 1 and John Wick 2, those are both very good movies, but John Wick 3 also opens up a whole new realm of like different places where they're fighting. There's like a fight in a horse stall. There's a fight in an old like weapons store. Those are some of my favorites. There's like fights on motorcycles. That was awesome. And then also one of my personal favorites is when John Wick's fighting this guy in this library. And I will say he definitely does compete with Jason Bourne for best utilization of a book in a fight scene. I don't know, he might have even passed him up. It was pretty awesome, pretty awesome. Also in John Wick 3, they use a lot of animals, like, I talked about the horses, but they also use a lot of dogs in this movie. Dogs seem to be a running theme throughout this, franchise, seeing as, what started this whole John Wick thing off, him coming out of retirement, was someone killing his dog. Then he gets another dog in the end of that movie and has him throughout John Wick Chapter 2. And then in John Wick Chapter 3, Halle Berry comes in and she has her own 2 dogs. They're, what kind of dogs are they?
Belgian Malinois.
Yeah. It's Belgian Malinois dogs, how you say it? Belgian Malinois. And they're just really awesome. They play in really well to the fight scenes. And I know Halle Berry also did a lot of work training with those dogs. And, obviously having to control animals in a fight scene, it's hard enough getting actors who don't know anything about fighting really to like get them to know how to look like they're actually fighting. And that's another reason why people use shaky cam, because actors are not, that interesting when you see an actor fighting. But it's just really cool hearing like, how much effort also Halle Berry put into this, her fight scenes, and also getting those dogs in there. I just thought that those scenes also worked really, really well. Like I said before, John Wick isn't really meant to be the movie where you walk away with, timeless life lessons and just find out how to be a better person. You go to see a John Wick movie for fun. it's supposed to be purely entertaining, and that's exactly what John Wick 3 is. And despite that, I still think that even though movies are meant to be overall just entertaining, you do also, since, a movie can't just be a whole 2-hour fight scene, because that would be mindless, and, it could take some brain cells out of your head. Despite the fact that this movie is mostly meant for our entertainment, there are some things that the previous movies have done better that this one I felt like didn't do quite as well. In the first 2 movies, there have been a lot of world building, a lot of setup of like underground societies and, just also the continental and the infrastructure behind these mercenaries, how they are communicated with to get their like bounties out and, cleanup crews. Like all that has been awesome throughout the movies. And John Wick Chapter 3 does carry that further, and it does still have some really cool parts to it. But then there are also like, some parts of it that I thought were a little bit convoluted, that weren't as tightly wound as the past movies. And I thought that it kind of took me out of the experience a little bit. I was kind of like waiting for those scenes to be over, maybe hoping that something more exciting was going to happen. So I would say that that was one negative of the movie. I will say that the main antagonist of the movie I thought was probably one of the low parts also of the movie. She comes in and she's trying to enforce the rules that John Wick and the people around him have broken. And I just thought she seemed like more naggy. And obviously she's an antagonist. You're not supposed to like her. I just thought that she wasn't as intimidating as someone in her position could have been, as she is like a representative of the high table. But, I think that it will be better moving forward. Overall, I really like John Wick 3, and I think that it fits in really well with the rest of the John Wick movies, and I'm going to give John Wick 3 an 8 out of 10. I think in my rankings, I still like John Wick 2 the best out of these 3 movies, and then John Wick 1 and John Wick 3. I think that they both have, good things going about them. And John Wick 3 just has some really, really awesome action set pieces that, rival John Wick 2 and are, about the same as John Wick 1. So I think that they're on the same level for me. Well, thank you guys for watching my video. Please hit the subscribe button, notification buttons below, and you get to see all of my new content. Also, go check out some of my latest reviews. I just reviewed Avengers Endgame, and I also released an Us spoiler review, so check those out. And I'm going to keep releasing more and more videos as time goes on, so keep looking out for those. I'm Jared Gilser, and I'll see you next time.